Nigel Farage has been under multiple investigations over money in which has been donated to him. One of them was a £5 million Bitcoin donation from a chap living out in Thailand. Nigel Farage came out and he originally said that the donation was going to be used for his security, and then he went on to say that the donation was a personal donation and had absolutely nothing to do with politics, and that he would spend that money on whatever he wanted. He then went on to say to multiple people like Piers Morgan that he would spend that money on Ferraris. And people have been questioning whether or not this is actual money in which it is a gift, because who the fuck donates £5 million to somebody as a personal gift for Brexit, or whether or not this money should have been declared to Parliament, should have been declared in his finances, and is in breach of parliamentary rules. There's been multiple investigations going on, and it is stressing him out to the point where he is shouting at Sky News reporters. I will say I did watch a video of Sky News reporters turn up at his daughter's house, which is absolutely abhorrent journalism, and they should not be doing that, especially considering his daughter is not part of any form of public image, nor does she wish to be. I think, but journalists are scumbags. We all know this. Journalists are never going to play fairly. They will always do whatever they can to get the best story, which means intruding on people's privacy and trying to snap pictures of family members. I've not been through the same thing as Farage, obviously, because I'm nowhere near as high profile as Farage, but I will tell you, well, a little story, actually. About 9 months ago, October time, you guys can probably figure that out, I had journalists messaging me about my personal life, trying to ask me questions about my personal life. I had The Sun reach out to me. I had The Telegraph reach out to me, trying to ask about my opinions and why I'm so radical. And I was like, I'm not stupid. I know what you're fucking doing. Because they are scumbags. They are arseholes. To them, it's about getting a story. They don't care about personal lives. But back to Farage. Farage, I don't know. He seems like he's being a naughty boy with this. Farage is not somebody that we should be surprised takes large amounts of money from dodgy donors. If you are aware about his campaign funds, 94% of all campaign funds between 2021 to 2024 were gifted to him by big oil companies. And we can analyze from that, obviously, while they're talking about drill baby drill, it's so that they will give them contracts whilst in government, and the big oil companies can rape the North Sea dry of its resources and take back the oil into their mitts and force us to pay prices for it, which takes away from our natural resources. So Nigel Farage is no stranger to very interesting finances, shall we say. I'm not going to accuse him of anything. I'm a nice guy. I'm not going to sit here and be like he broke the law, which he probably did. I'm not going to sit here and say that, though. That would be rude. What I am going to do is tell you exactly why he wanted to hold this by-election. Now, when I first saw it, I was on the way to the gym, and I was listening to the speech he was given, and he said that he's going to resign as the Member of Parliament for Clacton-on-Sea. To which he then said he's going to stand as the candidate for Clacton-on-Sea and allow the residents of Clacton-on-Sea to determine whether or not he had done anything wrong. He's basically saying, if they vote me in again, then that's their will, and I have the will of the people, and they don't care about the £5 million donation. Now, it is a power move. And it's a power move for a few reasons. It's a power move because not only is he standing there and saying, it's fine, because if I win, you're the establishment. I'm anti-establishment, which isn't true. But he's saying, I'm anti-establishment. If I win, then I've beaten the establishment. And I'll stand up as the anti-establishment figure for the British people. If he loses, then he goes, well, look, the establishment beat me. The establishment is too powerful. The establishment hates you and it's going to work against you. And they're throwing anything they can to keep themselves in power and to keep us away. He'll refer back to people like Dominic Cummings and say Dominic Cummings was right and that the government will break the law to keep Reform out of power. And then he'll fly off to America, which he made clear in this video, by the way. He made very clear that he's been offered multiple different positions in America. And he said that he'd fly out to America. He'd basically just retire in America, get a news on Fox News, get a job, sorry, not news, get a job on Fox News, become a presenter, sit down, do his own show, like he did for LBC, like he did for GB News. He has backup plans. So regardless of this situation, if they had gone ahead with a by-election fight and they had taken on Reform, this would have been a win-win situation for Farage. Because Farage would have left this battle either victorious, going back into Parliament as an anti-establishment figure and gloating about how he beat the media, he beat the government, he beat the Tories. Even if Restore had have stood a candidate, he would have said, I beat Rupert. He would have stood there, I guarantee this. He would have stood there and went, I beat Rupert Lowe. He's doing this out of spite. It's an ego-driven battle. And frankly, he should not be taken seriously. I'm the face of the right wing. That's what he would have done, which would have harmed Restore's chances in the future anyway. That would have been 3 consecutive losses with Makerfield, the upcoming Manchester by-election, well, mayoral election, which, let's be totally honest, Restore will lose. And then it would have been the Clacton-on-Sea election as well. That would have been 3 back-to-back elections in which Farage, Reform, Restore, why are they all the fucking same? Restore would have lost. It was easy when it would advance. I was looking at a brown man with a different party name. Now it's Rebirth, Reclaim, Restore, Reform. Retard, fuck me. But they would have been able to claim, well, you've lost 3 in a row. You're clearly not a serious party. You're clearly not a serious force. You're not going to win. But they decided not to stand. And funnily enough, this grand plan that Farage would have had, which is, regardless of what happens, this is a power move, he's basically stood there and been spat on because everybody has agreed that they do not care and they are not playing the game. They've all said it's an illegitimate by-election. He's doing this out of spite of the fact that he's up to his neck in investigations right now and dodgy business dealings. You've got all of these things piling up, media investigations, the media backlash against him, his poor performance against Burnham sweeping 55% in Makerfield, the Labour Party unifying together. He's got everything against him right now. And he knows that. He knows that this investigation is going to have a bad outcome for him. Because now you've got Richard Tice coming on and bragging, well, you've been asking for a by-election, so he gave you a by-election, and now you've ran away. And they're trying to play this again as, well, you're just running from Reform because you're scared. But the Conservatives, Labour, the Lib Dems, probably the Greens, Restore, they've all agreed they're not standing. None of them are willing to stand. And I'm not going to speculate, but I imagine there were some phone calls made. I was watching earlier Kemi Badenoch talk to Pimlico, and Kemi was asked about Rupert Lowe and Restore, and she praised Rupert. She said, Rupert turns up to the parliamentary committees. Rupert turns up to work with us. Suspicious. And she refused to condemn Restore, and she basically ignored the question about, would you make a deal with Restore? She didn't say yes or no. She just critiqued it and said, oh, it's just a conspiracy theory by Farage. Interesting. Because Restore say straight away, they're the first party to come out, we're not going to run a by-election. Would I imagine that there would have been some communication between Restore and the Conservatives regarding this? Yes. Because who comes out next? The Conservatives come out and they say, we are not running in this by-election. So the right wing has now conceded and said, nope, it's illegitimate, we're not going to run in this. Both of them said, Restore said, and Kemi said, Rupert tweets, Alistair tweets, that they will stand in the second by-election after the committee, which finds Farage guilty, allegedly, could do that. They said they'll stand in that. Kemi comes out with a video. She says the same thing. She says, we will stand in the second by-election, the legitimate by-election, not this one. To me, that seems like some form of deal has been made behind the scenes of, we will stand down on this because if we stand down, then Farage looks illegitimate anyway because there's no actual right-wing alternative and it's just reform. Starmer comes out and he says, no, we're not going to stand in it either. This is a farce. The public will see through it. Reform are simply trying to avoid any form of responsibility and scrutiny through these investigations. Ed Davies comes out and he says that Parliament should block this by-election until after the investigation. They all know damn well that Reform is trying to avoid scrutiny, and by pulling out of this race, it takes the wind out of Farage's sails. And I'll tell you why it avoids scrutiny. There will be no debate. There's no opposition, so there's nobody to hold him to account. It's just the media on him. Labour can carry on with the coronation of Burnham. They can carry on with the mayoral election. The Conservatives can carry on gaining ground in the polls. If Farage stands in this, which he's going to now, obviously, because he's resigned, and he wins because nobody else is standing against it, apart from Count Binface. You can't count out my nigger Count Binface. Count Binface, we are all behind you. But if Farage stands in this, then this idea about anti-establishment, it's me versus them, this war mentality, that's what it is. It's a war mentality. But if he stands and does this now, then there's nothing. There is no war. There is no battle. There is no them versus us, because it's just you. There is no argument that he can make about, well, I beat the by-election, nobody cares about the 5 million. Because if there's no opposition, then there's no way to measure or not they do care about the 5 million. There's no way to measure whether this is something that the public have an interest in. And for Farage, that's the worst thing. He wanted them to play the game. Playing the game would have been the best thing for Farage. If there was a game to be played, if the chess pieces had been put out there, Farage could have turned this around and it would have been a win-win situation if he won or lost this by-election. If he lost the by-election, he resigns, he retires as the leader of Reform. A leadership contest is held. It will be between Jenrick or Zia. Zia's more popular with the Reform base. I gotta stop saying restore, man. Can we please just change the names? Zia's more popular with the Reform base. People just see Jenrick as an ex-Tory. Zia then would take the blame by Reform's collapse, because without Farage, there is no Reform. Like UKIP, without Farage, there is no UKIP. What happened after Farage left? It just died. It tried to be a political force, went nowhere, kept electing new leaders, and now you've got an Italian man marching around with a purple armband on, throwing clenched fist salutes, chanting about how we're a Christian nation and it's about our Christian values. It's nothing to do with skin colour, it's about our Christian values. That's what UKIP turned into. So without Farage, Reform collapses. So if he had lost the by-election, it would have been a great tactical play. And I would have earned money as well. I put a bet down on Zia Yusuf becoming the next leader a long time ago. I just thought, you know, I'll throw a tenner on it. We'll see what happens. But Farage has now had everything stripped away from him. He probably was thinking, this is great. It's a great opportunity for me. I can stand up. If I lose it, I'll fuck off to America. I'll blame it on the establishment. I will be seen as the prime minister that never was. I'll be seen as the anti-establishment figure. If he wins it, and he wins it by a large majority, he could have gone, well, look, I beat the establishment. Nobody cares about the financial funds. Nobody gives a shit about any of the media reports. Nobody gives a shit about any of the scandals that you're throwing at me. Nobody cares about the investigation. And if he won with a substantial amount of the vote like he did in 2024, he would have also stood there and declared that he has a mandate, just like Burnham has a mandate, which could have dragged him towards wanting a general election, which could have dragged him towards saying that he is the official opposition. But because nobody's standing against him, because there is nothing in his way now, there is no fight to be had. There is no establishment for him to be perceived to be fighting. There's just Count Binface. There is no wind in his sails. They have played his hand by not playing the game at all. They have called his bluff by not playing the game at all. And now Farage will not have to deal with scrutiny from opposition running in this by-election. Instead, the investigation for his funding will be put on hold. He will win the by-election. Hey guys, if you want to vote on that, if you want to make some easy money, go and vote for go and bet on Farage winning the by-election. I don't know. I just have a suspicion. I have a hunch that Farage might win this by-election. I don't know what it is. Something's telling me that he might win it. I don't know what it is. Actually, no, I'm betting on Binface. But he wins this by-election. The investigation continues. They declare him to be breaking the law. He's then forced to resign anyway because he's broken parliamentary standards. He's broken parliamentary rules. He gets kicked out. Then he's no longer seen as an anti-establishment figure because he's just seen as a corrupt politician by the general public, which we all know. We all know that he is the same as them, but the average person doesn't. The average Reform voter doesn't. They're still just thinking it's the Tories and Labour. It's them. It's the Uni Party. But the investigation concludes. He gets thrown out. An actual by-election takes place. You'll probably see it return back to Labour. Burnham uses that to go, well, look, I told you we have the mandate. We're still fine. It's Burnham territory. And then Farage's grand plan collapses. Reform will collapse. With that, a lot of people will be reactionary and look for a party to turn to. I imagine Restore will gain a fair amount of ground and they'll gain quite a bit in the membership. However, and this is a big however, what have I said before? A lot of Reform's voters are generational Labour voters that will just return back to Labour. And the other party to contest Labour will not be Restore, it will be the Conservatives. The only benefactor to any of this taking place is the Uni Party. The only winner is the Uni Party. Because, okay, let's say that Farage gets kicked out because they find him guilty of breaking the rules, even though he keeps saying that he's not done it. Farage gets kicked out because they find him guilty of breaking the rules. Then you've got a by-election, Labour win it, the Reform base collapses, they elect Zia. Zia's fucking useless because everyone just sees him as some brown Muslim guy. The Reform base collapses, people get reactionary, they jump to Rupert, they jump back to Labour, some of them jump back to the Tories. The local elections next year, Burnham does well, Labour do well, Red Wall seem to be coming back, people get more worried about it. Come the local elections 2028, The Conservatives restore, make a deal, because obviously they're willing to make deals with each other. Call me a conspiracy theorist, all you like. Kemi always praises Rupert. Rupert praises the Tories. Rupert says that a rebirthed Tory party, a rehashed Tory party is the mechanism forward. He's always said that. He calls himself a true Tory. He talks out against the Cameronites, the One Nation Tories. He would align himself more with Thatcherite Tories. He wants to move away from the Cameronites, from the One Nation Tories, back to true Tories, back to libertarian Tories, back to Kemi Badenoch Tories. Rupert and Kemi do a deal. He stands down in a lot of the council seats. He allows the Conservatives to do well in 2028. General election comes around 2029. The right-wing parties are going to have to make deals to beat Burnham. And in all fairness, this is kind of what I've been saying for a while. I can't lie, I did not know about Farage's finances, so I didn't imagine the downfall of Farage to be this quickly. I thought that he was going to begin to lose steam over the next few years, and I thought that he would be replaced eventually, but this is coming quicker than expected.